everyone, to today's Lunch and Learn, Powerful Partnering, Unlock Funding Through Better Conversations. I'm Adrienne Klein, the Programs and Community Specialist here at the Oregon Bioscience Incubator, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. So before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. Please stay muted during the session. Please, though, take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. We'd love to know who's joining us, and feel free to drop in your LinkedIn if you'd like us to connect with you. Also, we're going to be taking questions throughout the entire program. So when questions pop up for you, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I will grab them, or Lisa will grab them, and we'll make sure that Jane gets them and can answer them right away. I'll share my LinkedIn in the chat so you can connect with me, and I also encourage you to connect with my colleague here, Lisa Wernley Hunt. She is the OBI Controller and Financial Operations Specialist. So let's move through our slides here. So first up, our land acknowledgement. Otrati would like to acknowledge the land we are all on, wherever we may be. Otrati conducts business throughout Portland and beyond and is making an effort to acknowledge the history of the area and work towards decolonization of the bioscience industry. To learn more about Portland's native, diverse, and vibrant community, please read Leading with Tradition, a document created by the Portland Indian Leaders Roundtable. And we're going to put a link of that in the chat too for you guys to check out. We have some upcoming events coming. The Bend Venture Conference is coming back to Bend on Thursday, October 16th. We will be hosting, OBI will be hosting a networking lunch. It'll be nestled right in between all the programming for the Bend Venture Conference, so please join us if you can. And then in November, we have another Accelerate Biotech Happy Hour, very popular event. We hope to see you there. At the very end of this program, before you pop off of Zoom, a survey is going to pop up. It's anonymous, and we would love to get your feedback on this program and future programs that you would like us to put together. It really helps us kind of guide our programming for the upcoming year. I'm very pleased to introduce today to you who's going to be putting on the presentation for Powerful Partnering, Unlock Funding Through Better Conversations. We have Jane Boutwell here with us today. Jane is the founder of Well Said Consulting and a contract facilitator and speaker coach for Duarte, where she has spent more than 20 years of helping individuals and teams strengthen their communication and presentation skills. She has partnered with Fortune 500 companies, including Apple, Cisco, Google, Microsoft, and Nestle, guiding leaders to secure hundreds of millions in funding, advocate for executive promotions, negotiate profitable contracts, and close critical deals. Jane brings both professional expertise and personal life skills to her work. As a mom, athlete and coach, entrepreneur, model, and caregiver, all with a focus on creating a learning environment where people feel safe, supported, and empowered to grow. So we are so excited. Please, everyone, welcome today, Jane.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the introduction, Adrienne. And welcome, everyone. I am thrilled that you're here for Powerful Partnering, How to Unlock Funding Through Better Conversations. We all know in the bio and life sciences world that innovation alone doesn't secure funding. Instead, critical, intentional, strategic conversations do. And those conversations lead to partnerships. So I just want to level set that this webinar is not about the process of how to secure funding. Instead, it's that human element. It's how you connect, how you show up, and how you communicate in those first critical moments, particularly in a networking event. At the end of this webinar, my hope is that when you leave, that you will have added some important communication tools to your tool belt so that next networking opportunity that you have, that you show up with presence, clarity, and confidence so that people have a positive impression of you. All right, to get this kicked off and to help me understand your world, I would love to know, and you can just put this into the chat. Do me a favor and let me know, are you attending or will you plan to attend a conference, a networking event, an industry meeting in the next, say, 3 months? Just simply say yes or no. Heather, yes to all three. Good. Michael, yes. Stephanie, yes. Joshua, yes. Douglas. So everyone is planning to attend. This is great. So now, if you are planning to attend more than one, I want to get your frame of mind and going in this direction. Think about the one event or conference or meeting that you have coming up, and maybe that meeting you're super excited about, or you might have some apprehensions because you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself in terms of the outcome for this event. So if imagine that you're at that event, it's the day of, and tell me and then we're going to take a poll. If you were to guide and imagine what your level of nervousness would be walking in, would you say that you're terrified, a little nervous, neutral, and the bottom is, no, Jane, I got this. This is the kind of stuff I love. So this is good. No one is terrified. We have a couple of neutral people that are happy to go. All right. So almost half, there's a little bit of nervousness that is peeking through. This is perfect. Thank you very much for sharing this. Now, I would love to hear, and you could come off of chat or come off of mute. I want to hear from you. Why? Why is there some nerves to that? Because if it's just something that you show up at, why would there be nerves? So help me understand. I hate small talk. Good, Barbara. Okay. Meaning, and I'm going to kind of dive a little bit deeper on that, Barbara. The small talk, is it more that you're trying to figure out what to say, maybe that's relevant? Help me understand. All right, how about if we do this? The impression I make has consequences. Michael, yes. Barbara, how to connect? Yes. And that's where we're heading with this. Brian, I'm a graphic designer looking to get into biotech world, so a bit out of place. Yes, yes, and yes. Thank you. This is a leading question. I had a feeling where we were going because I have yet to meet anyone in my years of working with speakers, with professionals that don't have a certain level of nervousness. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of about your reputation. It's also about how you show up. So thank you for your willingness to share what you were thinking on that. All right, and we're going to address some things again, I'm going to give you some tools that hopefully you will show up with more confidence and presence. And to give you a layout of what we're going to do, we're going to talk a little bit about what you can do beforehand to get yourself mentally prepared when you walk in. We're going to talk about what to do during the actual networking itself, and then what to do after the networking event. So let's talk about the before. And this is all about intentionality and how we show up. But before we even get into that, I want to be clear on the intentionality, talking about that in terms of the type of networking that you do. And yes, there are different types. So the first being what I would call general networking. And it sounds like, Byron, this might be kind of where you're heading right now. General networking, and you're a perfect example. Maybe you've switched industries, and so now you find yourself attending a bio and life science networking event. It's a whole new different industry. So your mindset is going in, and you're just trying to make connections, trying to understand the lay of the land. So there's a purpose for general networking. Then there's also what I would call intentional partnering. Intentional partnering, there is a clear, focused outcome. And let me be clear, there's no right or wrong. Both networking have an opportunity. So if I were to unpack each of those, starting with general networking, the goal is, again, you're just there to absorb, make new contacts, little to no preparation. In other words, you show up and you're just trying to, like I said, get a feel of who are the players, who are the organizations, what are the values and goals. You're immersing yourself in this new environment. The follow-up that you might do is really what I would call high level. It's more general. If you actually happen to have a conversation with someone and you got their business card or LinkedIn connection, your follow-up would be, hey, thank you so much. It was great to meet you. I look forward to seeing you in future networking events or industry events. And then your success metric is determined on the goals of this networking. So in this case, general networking, it's how many connections did you make? And at this point, you can say, well, wow, I made 20 more connections on LinkedIn. This is fantastic. Intentional partnering, there's more work involved. Your goal, you have a clear defined outcome. Are you there for funding? Are you there for collaborative purposes? So you have a definitive outcome. Your preparation is going to be more involved. You're going to do research on probably the organizations that are attending this event. You'll probably do some research on maybe the speakers, and you're going to put some more effort into that. The follow-up is more targeted, timely, and with clear next steps. I'm going to talk about the follow-up towards the end. And then your success metric, again, is determined by what your goals were. So in this case, if my outcome is I'm looking for funding opportunities, well, it'd be great if someone would just write you a check, but the reality is that isn't going to happen. However, if you can make some strategic connections that lead to partnerships so that you further with those meetings, you're heading in the right direction. So to be clear, general networking and intentional partnership both have a time and a place. Neither is right or wrong, but just be intentional with what you are intending to do. All right, let's continue on. So we are still under the umbrella of what to do before you attend this event. And now let's talk about communication, being intentional with how we connect with people. So let me set the stage. Let's say that it's something really big, high stakes, and I would call the Bio International Convention a high stakes. I've never been there. And Heather, I'm pretty sure you have. Adrian, have you been to the international? Okay. Here's what I would imagine, because I'm lumping it into the word international, that in these high stakes events, every conversation counts. It counts in the way that you show up. It counts in the way that you listen, and it counts in the way that you speak. Because all of these make your audience or allow your audience to see, and really there's an assessment, a judgment on you and how you show up. So it determines whether someone remembers you, and that's a good thing, or if they forget about you 5 minutes later on. We're trying to make a good impression. So I think about intentional communication. It's really a competitive advantage when done right. So what do I mean about intentional communication? The definition I'm using, the process of deliberately communicating a message with the goal of having it understood by a specific recipient. And again, with intentional partnering, and you're doing all of your work ahead of time, you probably already have at least one person, one individual in mind that you really want to meet and seek out at this networking event. And if I were to break down what are some components of intentional communication, And there's a lot involved, but I just want to focus on these 5. I would think about clarity, clarity in my message and expressing ideas simply, concisely, and structured in a way so that others understand. I also need to be empathetic, considering the impact of my words, the words I choose to speak, and how they'll be received by the other person. I have to think about follow through, being focused and engaged on the directions, or pardon me, on the words, and reinforcing it with trust over time. Again, I'm going to talk about follow through and how it leads to trust. Thinking about presence. Are you engaged in the conversation with the person at that time? In other words, you're not distracted by other conversations, noises going on in this networking event. You are all in and focused on your audience. And then lastly, you have to be focused and clear on your purpose. In other words, why are you showing up? Why are you attending this event? Which leads us to our next piece. Purposeful engagement, your why. And hopefully everyone has thought about this. And this might seem obvious, but it's important to mention that you have to know your why. Why are you attending this event? And more importantly, what are you hoping for your outcomes after attending it? So in other words, what are you hoping to achieve? Are you wanting to learn new skills? Are you wanting to find mentors? Are you exploring new job opportunities? So having clarity on why you're attending and what your outcomes might be. I have a question for you all. If you're sitting there thinking about the why, has anyone heard of Simon Sinek? You could put a yes or no in the chat. Ah, okay, I see a couple. One of my most favorite TED Talks ever is Simon Sinek's How Great Leaders Inspire Action. If I'm not mistaken, it's still one of the top 10 TED Talks ever. So again, Simon Sinek, How Great Leaders Inspire Action. And it is a beautiful 18 minutes of about your why, your purpose, what gets you up in the morning. So just as important as you have to think about your why, this is where the empathy comes in. You need to think about your audience. Why are they showing up? And you might be sitting there saying, Jane, I don't know. I haven't met them yet. I don't know why they're there. Well, pretty good feeling that, at the end of the day, funding, financial ROI, that's important. But what are other reasons to attend these events? Maybe they're looking for different innovation. Maybe there's streamlined processes. Maybe there's collaboration that happens at these events, and we know that's the truth. And maybe that there is new technology that you aren't aware of. So being at least mindful of why your audience would show up is heading you in the right direction. Heather, thank you for putting the TED Talk in there. So I'm mindful of what I'm wanting or why I'm attending the event, what I'm hoping to get out of it. But now I need to switch gears. And again, I'm thinking about my audience. What are they hoping to get out of it? As Adrienne mentioned at the beginning, when she's kind enough to give me an introduction, I do contract work for a company called Duarte, and they're out of the Bay Area. In my opinion, they are the pinnacle of presentation training and development. So the firm is split in two in terms of, or two silos. You can think about the agency. We work with our Fortune 100 companies, helping their executives not just craft presentations, but how to deliver it. The academy side, which is where I do work, we train on that methodology and teach other organizations and individuals how to deliver, how to write and craft presentations so that your audience wants to listen. I bring that up because what I'm sharing here on the screen right now is one of my favorite tools from Duarte, and it's about audience empathy. So do me a favor, into the chat, I'm curious, how many of you for these whatever your next event that you have coming up, if it's a conference and networking, is there one individual in particular that you are hoping to meet or connect with? Just give me a yes or no. Okay. And if you don't have anyone in particular, that's all right as well. If you do, and Morgan, I see there will be 3. Great. Morgan, newsflash, you're going to have some more work to do. And here's what I mean. So these are 6 questions that when we are working with our clients at Duarte, that we ask them to think about when they are thinking about their customers. Starting with, who is your audience in terms of what are they like? This is literally the demographics, the psychographics. So you might say, they're 40 years old, middle career, 2 years at this organization. So they're still trying to make a name for themselves. You also want to ask yourself, why are they there? So again, you're at a networking event. Why is the person who you're trying to meet, why are they there? It's easy to say, well, they're going to get information. We have this thing called there's volunteer and voluntold. Most people volunteer going to these networking events because they have goals in mind. And sometimes in organizations, they're like, you know what? I need you to attend this event. I need you to check out the competition, whatever it is. In other words, they have to attend. They're not super thrilled about attending. Having that knowledge up front is power. And the reason being is that you can tailor your message around that. But trying to find out, why are they at this event? What are they hoping to achieve? What keeps this person up at night? And here's what I mean by that. The higher up in the organization you go, the more responsibility. The more responsibility, the more stress often. And that more stress, at least in my world, equals a lot of sleepless nights. So being empathetic is trying to understand, put yourself in their shoes. What might they be stressed about? What are the challenges they're facing? What's going on in that industry? And I love this, Morgan, that you're saying that. So trying to get a little insight onto what might their challenges be leads me to the next one. How are you the person that can help solve their problem? And what I mean by this is not just what you have on your resume and what someone can find out on LinkedIn. What are the other characteristics, personality traits that make you unique? Maybe you are the person that is always a glass half full. Any organization would be thrilled to have that, so that you see things outside of the box and bringing a positive can-do solution. What do you want your audience to do? So again, I'm at this networking event. I get this focused time with this person. I've met them. What do you want them to do? Newsflash. This is the call to action. So you have this conversation. You feel like you have this connection. Then what? Do you want to have another meeting with them? Are you hoping that you've made this connection and that they'll end up taking your call later on, that they'll reply back to an email? What is your intended goal? You want to further these meetings and bring more people to the game? Be clear on that. I would even take it a step further, and I share with speakers I'm working with, what do you want your audience to do, to think, and to feel? Do you want them to feel inspired? Do you want them to feel hopeful? Do you want them to feel motivated? There are intentions to this connection and this partnering. And last but not least, how might they resist? So Let's say that you're going in and you're hoping that funding, at least making some connections. I would say one of the biggest pushbacks is, you know what, you're asking for too much money right now, or this technology doesn't seem that it's at the right place for us to even look at it. Well, imagine how powerful your continued conversations could be if you've already prepared a rebuttal for that response. In my opinion, this is the question where I spend the most time. Think about all the different ways that someone can say no or poke holes or give you reasons why they don't want to continue. Okay, before I go on this, what questions can I answer for you? Is there anything else that you would add to this list? I'm curious. Have I put you to sleep? How do you consider all possible resistance without increasing anxiety? So, if I understand your question, Joshua, all possible resistance. So are you saying without increasing anxiety as you walk in during
Um,
the actual meeting?
I can unmute too. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, thank you. I love it
Yeah.
when people talk. Thank you.
Yeah. So in considering all the different ways someone could resist whatever your ask is, whether that's funding or just making a connection, um, I in my experience, I've had that where the more time I spend trying to think about everything they could come back with or like disagree with, what that does is that just creates a large to-do list of things that I may or may not be able to address. And that can increase the anxiety as I go up to them and recognizing, oh, I don't have the thing they're asking for, or I'm not sure if that makes sense. Spending a
Yes,
lot of time thinking about that can
yes.
be a
Yes.
little too much.
And thank you for sharing that. I think you are right on. I mean, there is a point where you can start spiraling out to the point, might imagine, that you're like, you know what, I better just not even go, or I better not even approach that person. So thank you for bringing that up. And here's what I would say. Forewarned is forearmed. I think a little bit of work, a little bit of research or enough, whatever, so that you feel comfortable. You know your own level of preparedness. And so when you get to a point where you feel prepared enough without increasing the angst, hopefully that gives you a certain level of confidence. Because ultimately, what I'm going to get you to is to this point where you start to have this back and forth dialogue. You want the connection. So there's a little bit of the prep work up front. If it gets to the point where you start to feel like, hey, this is debilitating, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can show up, stop. Because then it's not doing its purpose. Am I answering your question, Joshua?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And let's go through this, and because after you hear the during and the after, I want to know if it helps with alleviating that. Thank you for asking that. Byron, what are some methods, tools, tactics to inspire possible connections and get them pumped up? Byron, can I ask you to come off of mute, give me a little bit more clarity on that for me?
Yeah, sure. I often find that, at least as a graphic designer, you can help with the communication and marketing with a lot of projects. And so, invariably when I do talk to people, sometimes I can get them to sort of envision a lot of the visuals and things that they can that I can help with, and a lot of that for lack of a better word, that pumped upness, that exuberance, that inspiration, like that is such a valuable tool when you can get them to that place. That's how you can get them to remember you as well. And so I'm wondering, like I've had that happen, just sort of naturally and organically, but I'm looking for ways to see if I can't sort of have that happen more often and with more intent. Does that make sense?
I think what I'm hearing is that, and my words, not yours, so correct me if I'm not on the right path with you, that when you meet someone, ultimately at the end of the day, you're hoping it's a good connection. You're hoping that they feel inspired and that want to continue with the conversation or the partnership. Am I getting it right so far?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. And so what tools, communication, visual, nonverbal, what tools can we put in place to help with that inspiration, how you show up? Is that what I'm hearing?
You nailed it.
Okay, good. Thank you. Perfect segue. I'm going to move on. And Morgan, I see that you have something. Can I move on? And I'm not going to forget that you have your question or thought in the chat. Can I come back to you?
Of course.
It's
Okay.
basically the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So hopefully this next segment is going to answer your question. All right. You've done the preparation work. And to the level, at least, that you feel like a little bit more confidence, really what you want to get to is have enough information that you have gleaned about the other so that you can show up with educated questions to ask them. So now you're at the event. What is it that you need to do to think about so that you show up with presence? Well, you need to there's a lot, but I'm going to narrow it down to right here. This one specific tool, and hopefully this answers your question, Byron, is that if you can have, when someone says, hey, Byron, what do you do? Instead of saying, well, I am a graphic artist and I do, and I don't mean to belittle that, there's a lot to it. But I'm trying to take you out of this. I am Jane Boutwell. I am a speaker and facilitator. I'm a speaker coach and facilitator. It's pretty boring. You need to have this structure and content that's going to be relevant so that you can deliver it to your audience. Here's what I mean. These are components of what I would say this 2-sentence mini pitch that you need to have planned so that you can deliver this at a networking event. Other than, my name is Jane, I am a facilitator and a speaker coach, which means that you put the ball in their court to try and help make them figure out what it is that you do. So we need to bring clarity. Here are the components: who you help, what problem do you solve, and what do you do to solve it, and why it matters or the impact. The biggest gift that you can give to your audience is clarity and concision. As a matter of fact, I have this graphic on here, but I am constantly, my husband, I'll get home from a workshop that I've delivered and I'm all excited and I'm going on, and my husband will be like, Jane, land the plane, which is my cue for, okay, let's get it down to the brass tacks. What is really important that I need to share? Because once I get it down to the simplicity, the ball is in the other person's court. They can ask me questions. So here's the structure. I have the components, the who, the what, and the why, and the structure looks like this. I help who, solve what problem, and why it matters or the impact. Let me give you an idea using myself as an example how that might sound. Hi, I'm Jane Boutwell. I help bio and life science professionals communicate with clarity and confidence so their conversations don't just connect, they unlock the partnerships and funding that drive breakthroughs. Whew. All right, that is under the 2-sentence rule, but I don't know about you. I'd have a hard time remembering that. And my audience, I've lost them. It's about clarity and concision. So with the beautiful thing of AI, I can just say, no, make it even more concise. So now how about this? I help bio and life science professionals unlock funding and partnerships through the power of clear, intentional communication. Now, I know when I wrote that, it's high level enough that typically the next question out of my audience's mouth would be like, how do you do that? A standard response would be, well, I start to go into the nuts and bolts of what I do. I do speaker coaching. I provide workshops. But there's very little connection and dialogue in that. So again, I need to craft what I call a curiosity hook that continues on with that, but now it gets the other person curious so that we can start to have this dialogue. So I might say something like, putting it in their words, in the bio and life science world, it turns out a lot of great science doesn't get funded. Not because the science isn't strong, but because the story isn't clearly communicated. And that's the gap I'm trying to solve. So now, hopefully that again, it's high level enough. It gives them a little bit more clarity of what I can do in their world. But be careful, because one of the surest ways that we can lose our audience is what? If I start doing all the talking myself, if I am just vomiting information about what I do and how I can help, eventually my audience's eyes are going to roll back in their head and go, whew, yeah, you know what? She might know what she's talking about, but man, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to create are these tools so that we have this back and forth dialogue. Move away from a monologue, move towards a dialogue. And you might be saying, okay, great. How do we do that? What is the one question, or pardon me, the one topic, the one subject that everyone on planet Earth can talk about? Put it in the chat. What do you think? Yes, Chandler, thank you. Ding, 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 themselves. But here's the deal. I can't just simply turn it around and say, tell me what you do. I back up. You can. But if you're at a big, huge international conference, and let's say it's after lunchtime, how many people have you met during that day that maybe you've met 20 in the morning, and all 20 of them had said, Lisa, I'm going to use the example. So Lisa, what do you do? And then now I come up, number 21, Lisa, what do you do? It's not super engaging for Lisa. I mean, yes, she's going to share with me, but it's also, think about it. You're in the same position. You've heard 21 people telling you in the same way. So we need to come up with questions that are more empathetic and engaging with our audience. So here's an example. Instead of saying, what do you do, Byron? I might say, hey, well, what kind of projects are on your radar this year? By asking that kind of a question, what does that do? Come off of mute or put it in the chat. Why would I do something like this as opposed to, so what do you do?
Well, I mean, it sounds like that would get them excited talking about the things that they're looking forward to.
Yes, right? All of a sudden, now you've just put something into their court and they're thinking, well, the projects I'm doing this year, I'm really excited about this one, but this one really has top of mind and I'm stressed about it. I'm probably going to tell you about either one of those, in which case it gives you a sense what fires them up. What are they passionate about? What do they want to learn more about? You can also say, you know what if I wanted to stay more in the immediate? So the conference itself, I might say something like, hey, what's been the most interesting thing that you've heard today? Again, it takes it out of that realm of what do you do? We've heard that 4 million times, to let's have a different conversation. Let's connect. I want to invite you to share a little bit more about yourself. So with that in mind, I would like everyone play with me on this one. Into the chat, please put, what question have you been asked that was you couldn't help but engage? Am I making sense on what I'm asking you to do? All right, blow up my chat. Tell me what questions. All right, what's your passion? That's pretty high level, Morgan. Yep. What else? Tell me about your project. Great. What should I know about you? Okay, good. Can you look at our marketing materials and let me know what you think? I like that. That gets right to, what's interesting to you, but how does it resonate with them? I like that. It's specific. Stephanie, what did you like best about the meeting topic or presentation? Yes. How about them Cowboys? Absolutely. You know what? You could talk to me about sports. Doesn't mean I always know the teams and what's relevant, but it's something to engage on. I was at a shoe material show and wore some shoes I made. Any question asking me about them was engaging. Yes, thank you. And I don't know if my daughter's on this webinar. She just got back from EVS, Eastern Vascular Society, and she manages their association, and she also puts on their conference. And one of the attendees took the time from Ghana, took the time and made her this scarf that had her name on it and his name on it, and it said the EVS event. Now you tell me that's not a conversation starter. That's not something, it was absolutely fantastic. Right along with your shoes, Joshua. What is your work focus on? What does your work focus on? Good, Morgan. What talks are you excited about? Yes, this is beautiful. So you're getting it. We're trying to think of ways, and there's nothing wrong with saying, what do you do? But you know what? How many times can you hear that in a day? We're trying to continue a conversation. All right. So we've talked about what you can do beforehand to prepare yourself mentally so that you show up as your best self. We've also talked about what you can do during for the engagement purposes with a structure and have it planned out. And now let's talk about after. So to be clear, during the networking event itself, that is your opportunity to demonstrate or to confirm your credibility. Again, how you show up, your presence, how you listen, how you connect. All of those speak to your credibility as a speaker, as a person, as a professional. But after the networking event, this is your opportunity to build trust. And trust starts with clear communication and grows through intentional action. I want to jump back to the credibility and the trust thing. Credibility, like I said, during the event, I think of credibility as the head. That's your logic. That's how you connect, and your professionalism and your authority as a speaker, as an attendee, that gets solidified during that time. Trust is from the heart, and trust is a more emotional connection that, as I said, builds over time. As a matter of fact, trust delves deeper, fostering emotional connections and long-term relationships. Trust allows individuals to prioritize the well-being of the relationship. I'm going to say that again. Trust allows individuals to prioritize the well-being of the relationship over their own self-interest. And investors don't just invest in a single meeting, they invest in a relationship. So let's think, there's a lot of things that you can do to build trust, but ultimately at the end of the day, it comes down to action. But I'm going to give you 3 specific activities to think about towards building trust. Follow up within 24 to 48 hours, engage intentionally, and follow through on any promises. So let's unpack this. Following through 24 to 48 hours. Why am I saying that? Why is that important? Come off of mute or put it into the chat. Why is it important to follow up within 24 to 48 hours? Help them remember you. Yes, shows interest, follow through, reminds people of you, keeps it fresh. Yes, yes, and yes. And I would go a little bit further. You need to personalize your message. So if you are following up, you've made this connection, you have a business card or a LinkedIn connection, you need to go a step beyond just saying, hey, it was nice meeting you. Personalize it. During that moment when you had that conversation, you probably might have uncovered some sort of interest or passion that someone was talking about. Mention that. It's relevant. Hey, I was excited to hear that you're really into hiking. Same here. Have you ever been to Glacier National Park? Express genuine appreciation, and this is about their time. The older I get, the more I realize how critical time is, and your time is valuable. So when you can authentically, genuinely tell someone, thank you for giving me part of your day, that means a lot. Let them know that value. And then lastly, provide value. Share an article, share a resource, and I know you know all of this. So why does this 24 to 48 hours build trust? It shows that you listened, you valued your time or their time, and are willing to contribute, here's the key, without asking for anything in return. Second way to build trust is engage intentionally. Again, you connect on LinkedIn, you exchange business cards, whatever it is. This is all about intentionality, respect, not transactional. So if someone that you have connected with writes a post, comments on something, it's fine to use the emoji, heads up, I love it, whatever, that's great. But even more meaningful is when you can sit there and reflect on what they wrote. And if it resonated with you, tell them why. Because I'm here to share with you, the reverse would be true. If someone took the time to comment on a post that you did and took the time to tell you why it meant something, how would that make you feel? So really, this is about intentional engagement without expecting a favor in return. And why does this build trust? It shows that you care about their success and see the relationship as more than just a one-time transaction. And last but not least, follow through. Do what you said you're going to do. I will say this. One of my peeves is that when someone asks me a question and I don't know the answer, I might say, yeah, I don't know. Can I get back to you later? I'm using me as the example of not doing it right. Well, I'm partly there. Can I get back to you later? But get back to you later has a different meaning. Maybe to me, get back to you later is next week. But the person I'm talking to, get back to you later, could be the end of the day. So the appropriate way of following through is, I don't know the answer. Let me get back to you by the end of today. So I've given intentionality in what I'm going to do, and I give a time frame of when it will be done. And hopefully it goes without saying, don't commit if you can't do it. Along those lines, if you say that you're going to do an introduction for someone or to a group, please follow through on that. That's part of the intentionality. Again, why does this build trust? Because reliability and consistency are foundational. Actions speak louder than words. So number 3, or pardon me, when I went back, I talked about follow up and follow through. There's a subtlety there. Follow up is a step to keep the momentum in progress, but follow through is the active effort to achieve a result. So following up is I'm keeping it going. Following through is this intentional mode for the result. I'm looking at the comments. It shows that you cared and interest. Yeah, create credibility, helps you remember as your name. Yes. Yes, Jeff. Yes, Nisri. Yes. All right. So we talked about, and hopefully I didn't go through this too quickly, but what you can do beforehand to prepare yourself mentally, show that you show up with presence and confidence. What you do during, there's a quick structure so that you should have it at the top of your mind, 2 sentences or less, lean and mean and clean, make it memorable. And then what you do afterwards. And as we've seen today, powerful partnering isn't just about your science and your data. It's about the conversations that you create. And funding follows trust, and trust is built through how you show up, how you connect, and how you communicate. So my challenge to you in your next networking event or investor meeting, lead with presence and clarity. Use Jane's word, land the plane, and confidence. Because when you do that, you're not just sharing ideas, you're opening doors to partnerships that can move innovation forward. And I'm going to leave you with this. Don't just network, partner with purpose. The way you communicate today can unlock funding and fuel tomorrow's breakthroughs. So thank you so much, everyone, for investing your time, being willing to come off of mute and talk. And I am curious, I will be curious. Let me know if any of these tools, how you use them, if it helps. And I genuinely look forward to staying in contact with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you very much. This was great. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'm looking at the, let's see, have to drop. I will send out the recording. Okay. Any other questions that I can answer from, and Adrian, how we doing time-wise? Am I at the
We're
end?
doing fine. If we go a little bit over, that's no big deal. People can drop off as they need to because this is being recorded and we'll send it out later. So feel free to ask all the questions you need to. We've got our Jane here. She's our resource. So now is the time to ask your questions.
It'd be great to get to know a little bit about coaching process and things like that. Would love to get some information about it.
Sure. I am, and again, Adrian is going to send out my contact information. Adrian, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but
Yeah, when I send out the email with the email will contain a link to the recording, also the PDF format of the slide deck, and also contact information for Jane. So I'll put in her LinkedIn. I can also put in her email. So that way you'll get all that information. And then I'll leave the ball in your court, Nasri, to reach out to Jane.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks a
sounds
lot.
good. Thank you.
Great to meet you.
Is Byron still here? Because, and I feel like Morgan, there were two.
Morgan had a question, but I think Morgan popped off unless I can't see her. But yeah, she did have a question a couple of slides ago. So let's see if we can find that and then we can answer that.
Sure. I don't want to
And-
leave anyone hanging.
Yeah.
Do we have what slide that was on, Morgan?
Let's see here. Oh, here it is. How do you make and pursue relationships without people thinking you're just in it for money? And generally, I just want friends where there might be mutual benefit, but it is always good to have friends without specific subtext.
Okay.
Sent to
And I'm-
1234 if you need it in front of you.
Thank you. I am, so how do you make and pursue relationships without people thinking you're just in it for the money? So hopefully I answered that with, have this structure that's intended to create this dialogue, this back and forth. And more importantly, hopefully if Morgan was here, she got some information on the follow through, the follow up. I can't say this enough. People can smell when you want something. And anyone else that's still out there, can you tell when someone is meeting with you, engaging with you, and there's this underlying motive? You can feel it. But if you switch your mindset to this curiosity mindset, where genuinely trying to understand what the other person, what fires them up, what are they excited about? Because ultimately, the more you get them talking, you start to uncover where these partnerships, these possibilities could be. And you know what? maybe it's not a fit, but guess what? Down the road, maybe there is a fit. Or that person might know someone, and because you have had this great conversation, they can introduce you to someone where there might be a fit. Hopefully I answered that.
I think so.
Okay, it looks like there's one more. Heather. Okay. How do you make and pursue relationships? All right, thank you. Perfect. Any other questions out there? Claire's mud? Okay.
Okay, all right. Wow, that was an engaging discussion. That was really great. I think a lot of information packed in there. So I think that people are going to walk away with some really great information. I want to say thank you for this discussion. Also, a special appreciation to Jane for sharing her valuable insights and experiences with us. Just to let you know, this session is being recorded. I will send a link along with the slide deck, like I said, hopefully by early next week. So keep an eye out for that. Before you go, a short survey is going to pop up on your screen. So I would love it if you took a couple minutes just to fill it out. That gives me lots of information about what I can bring to you next. And we hope to see you at a future event. So thank you everyone for all of your time, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.